One bullet, 3 targets, and every Navy SEAL on the range just stopped breathing. The shot ripped across Falcon Bay Naval Training Grounds clean, sharp, impossible, through the spotting scope. Chief Warrant Officer Mason Cade watched it happen. 3 thin plates, set in a perfect line at 980 meters, each one punched dead center by the same round. He lowered the scope. Lane 5. Not a uniform, not even combat gear, just a woman in faded jeans and a charcoal hoodie. Right hand wrapped in stark white bandage, ejecting the casing like she'd done this 1,000 times. No smile, no celebration. And yet, she had just done something most Tier 1 snipers wouldn't even attempt. 2 hours earlier, when Elara Vance walked onto this range, nobody had any idea who she really was or how fast the past she'd tried to bury was about to catch up with her. Dawn fog still clung to the Greyhaven coastline when Elara arrived, 29 years old. She moved like someone who had spent years perfecting the art of disappearing quiet steps. Steady eyes, presence fading into the background. Blonde hair in a simple ponytail, hoodie cuffs frayed, jeans that had seen better days. The only thing that stood out was the way she cradled her right hand close, the bandage white against dark fabric. She'd been coming here for 3 months, always 45 minutes before official opening. A quiet deal with the rangemaster, part of a rehabilitation program for injured veterans. Her paperwork was bare-bonesy: Vance, medical discharge, physical therapy authorization. Most people assumed she'd been a mechanic or a clerk injured in a training mishap. She never corrected them. For Elara, the range was more than rehab. It was the one place her trembling hand sometimes went still, the one place the nightmares couldn't reach. Her ritual never changed: arrive early. Clean her Vanguard M12 custom long rifle with deliberate precision, using her left hand while the injured right rested. Breathe. Wait. Let the rest of the world catch up. Today should have been no different, until 2 matte black SUVs rolled in just after 0700. Trident Squad Bravo, a Navy Special Operations Overwatch unit, spilled out like apex predators on a short leash. Their leader, Lit Damon Strickland, had the squared shoulders of a man who considered downtime an insult. Behind him, his team unpacked precision rifles, spotting scopes, and enough ammunition for a small battle. Civvy on deck, muttered Petty Officer Trey Delgado when he spotted Elara downrange. Why do they let tourists play soldier on military property? Strickland's eyes swept her bandaged hand, lingering on the faint flinch when someone dropped a heavy ammo crate. Probably some dependent living her warrior fantasy while her husband's deployed. Ignore her. But Cade didn't ignore her. He saw the way her gear was laid out, textbook efficient. And that rifle not something you bought at a store. A custom build that cost more than a car. Range Officer Roy Halberg, the DoD civilian running the facility, walked over with a clipboard. Gentlemen, you've got lanes 15 through 20. Note lane 5 is booked for a medical rehab shooter, authorized by command. Medical rehab. Strickland smirked. Paper cut. Halberg's eyes hardened. Her clearance comes from higher than either of us needs to know. Lieutenant, focus on your own targets. They didn't. The jokes kept coming. Elara heard everyone. She'd learned long ago that the best answer to mockery was silence. She adjusted her rifle, the Aegis-scope McPhee optic glinting faintly while thin neural sensors under her hand tracked every tremor for her rehab program. 3 months ago, her right hand had been useless shrapnel damage. Surgeons telling her she'd never fire again. They were almost right. 20 minutes later, Master Chief Alan Drake stepped onto the range. The air shifted. His gaze locked on Elara's posture, too precise to be self-taught, too fluid for a hobbyist. On the turret cap of her scope, a tiny etched sigil caught the light, one he'd only ever seen on requisition orders stamped Spectre Division, Eyes Only. The Trident Squad began standard progressive distance drills. Elara finished her prep, loaded a single round. Her stance looked wrong, left leg tight, right shoulder low. Jesus, look at that form. A young operator laughed. She learned on YouTube. Drake went still. That wasn't bad form. That was Spectre protocol designed for shooters with nerve damage, turning weakness into precision. The shot cracked, dead center. 500 meters, then another, and another, each from a different. Wrong position. Every hit perfect. Every motion pure instinct. And Drake knew he'd just found a ghost. Where are you watching from right now? I'm curious how far this shot had to travel to reach your screen. Spectre Division, the military's most elite precision shooter program. 8 operators, hand-picked from every branch, trained to bend the definition of what was possible with a rifle. They were ghosts, whispered about in special operations circles until Zadra Province. Until a mission went so catastrophically wrong that the entire program was buried deeper than Master Chief Alan Drake's clearance. On Lane 5, Elara Vance's right hand trembled harder as she chambered her next round. She paused, palm flat against the shooting mat. Drake saw her lips move a quiet mantra only she could hear. Crack. Another dead center hit at 500 meters. Lucky shots. Damon Strickland muttered. Though the bite was fading. Anyone can hit paper at that range. Then why don't you show her how it's done? Chief Cade's smirk carried just enough challenge. Strickland's grin sharpened. You know what? Let's make this interesting. He strode toward Lane 5. Excuse me, miss, he began. Elara looked up, steady gray eyes. Unreadable. Up close. Strickland noticed fine shrapnel scars along her jaw. My team and I thought you might want a few pointers, he said, layering on condescension. Your stance, unconventional, could help with that shake if you used proper fundamentals. I appreciate the offer, Elara replied. Voice low and rough. But I'm following my physical therapy routine. Therapy explains the yoga poses. Still, you're building bad habits. How about a wager accuracy challenge? Loser buys coffee for the winner's whole team. No, Drake cut in. Leave her to her training. Lieutenant. Something in Elara's gaze sharpened at the word. Handicap. What kind of challenge, she asked. 5 shots at 800 meters. Closest grouping wins. Strickland said quickly. 1 condition. Elara replied. We shoot at 980. The range went still. 980 meters meant wind calls mattered as much as trigger control. Strickland forced a laugh. Ma'am, that's 2/3 of a mile with that tremor. Are you refusing? Of course not. Your funeral. As they prepped. Petty Officer Trey Delgado leaned toward Drake. Master Chief, her scope turret cap. That sigil saw it in Coruscant on gear we weren't supposed to talk about. I know what you're thinking. Drake said quietly, keep it to yourself. Delgado's grin was thin. If she's who I think, Strickland's about to get an expensive education. The wind picked up, gusting west at 15 miles an hour, enough to push a bullet half a meter off target at this distance. Strickland went first smooth. Professional. His 5 rounds landed in a tight cluster you could cover with a softball. Beat that, he said. And don't feel bad when you can't. Elara stepped forward. Instead of prone position for 5 shots, she placed 3 thin plates in a perfect line, 2 feet apart. Strickland frowned. Bet was group size, not circus tricks. I'm giving you a chance to back out, she said evenly. 1 bullet, 3 targets. All or nothing. A ripple of disbelief moved through Trident Bravo. At this range, hitting 3 plates with 1 round meant perfect stability through all 3 impacts, something no manual even taught. She didn't explain. She closed her eyes for 10 seconds, lips moving in that same quiet rhythm. When she opened them, the tremor was still there, but her focus was absolute. She angled herself 45 degrees, rifle canted in a way that would fail any formal marksmanship test. Breathing slowed to a ghost of movement. The wind gusted, fell, gusted again. She waited. Between heartbeats, she fired. Through Cade's spotting scope, the impossible unfolded. First plate center, second plate center, third plate center. Silence. No one can. Strickland whispered, "Spectre 7, Drake said under his breath. Elara's right hand shook violently as she lowered the rifle. Tears slipped free for the first time in years. "I'm nobody," she whispered. "Spectre 7 died in Zadra with her team. I'm just what's left." Drake leaned in, voice low. "If that's true, then you're the only one who can stop what's coming next." "But I could shoot," Elara Vance said, voice breaking in places years hadn't healed. "God help me. I could shoot better than anyone." Master Chief Alan Drake stepped closer, his weathered face carved with understanding. Around them, Trident Squad Bravo shifted subtly, forming a wall that blocked out curious eyes. This wasn't sport anymore. It was a battlefield confession. The target was Rashid Kaveh. She continued, gaze fixed somewhere far beyond the present. Warlord tied to 3 embassy bombings. Intel said he'd be in a compound in Zadra province for exactly 1 hour. Meeting with lieutenants. We inserted at 0300. 2 elements overwatch and entry. She and Spectre 1 were set 150 meters out. The others Callahan, Vega, Rios, Monroe, Hart. Bishop moved in close. Her rifle back then was the pinnacle of classified tech, an Aegis-scope McBuy V with thermal imaging and onboard ballistic calculations wind drift. Barometric pressure. Even the Coriolis effect. It made me the perfect shooter. She said flatly, surgical precision at distances most wouldn't even try. I had Kava in my scope through a dirty window. Clear shot. But Spectre 1 ordered we wait until the entry team was stacked on the breach point. Standard protocol, no escape routes. Then she saw it, an industrial propane tank for the compound's generators. Thermal showed it was full. The entry team was seconds from the door when Kava started to move, leaving early. I called it in. Spectre 1's answer was fast. Take the shot. 7 will adapt. She did. 1 round, 150 meters, through glass, into a moving target. I hit him center mass. Textbook. The hydrostatic shock knocked him back into the tank. The bullet passed through, punctured the steel. There must have been a pilot light. Half the building went up in a concussive roar. The breaching charge detonated almost at the same moment, and the blast inside shredded everything. 6 KIA. Her friends, her family. Because I was too good to miss, she rasped. Too precise to just wound. If I'd been a fraction less perfect. Her voice cracked. If I'd hit anywhere else, they'd still be alive. That's not on you, Strickland said roughly. You followed orders, but I did know. She snapped. I saw the tank. I processed the risk, and I was proud of what I could do. I didn't think about what I should do. They wrote it off in the report, claimed the place was rigged, couldn't admit their perfect sniper program caused a perfect disaster. Spectre Division erased. I got a medical discharge, and this, she lifted her trembling right hand, came from digging through rubble with my bare hands. 3 surgeons had told her she'd never shoot again. They were almost right. 3 months ago, I couldn't hold a pencil. The rehab program. The sensors you mocked all to work around the damage. I'm relearning everything backwards. Upside down. She pressed her hand to her chest. I owe it to them, Callahan, Vega, Rios, Monroe, Hart, Bishop. Every shot I take, they're with me. A sharp tone cut the air. Drake checked his secure phone, eyes hardening. All teams. Stand by. Credible sniper threat. What kind, Strickland asked? A killer calling himself Iron Fang. 3 dead Intel assets this week, all extreme range kills. Intel puts him here in Falcon Bay. Tomorrow, targeting Admiral Marin Holt at the Falcon Bay Precision Invitational. Elara froze. 6'2", scar over the left brow. Prefers prone supported even when it's not needed. You know him. Drake asked. Victor Sarin, former Stetson marksman, Kava's nephew. Been hunting Spectre operators since the division fell. Found Spectre 1 last year. Made it look like suicide. Then we get you into protective custody. Strickland began. He's not here for me. Elara cut in. He's here for Holt. Then he'll come for me. It's how he works. The competition, thousands of people, endless angles, impossible to cover. You won't have to. she said, breaking down her rifle with mechanical calm. He fires at exactly 1410, always, and he'll choose somewhere personal, somewhere we both know. Drake studied her. You're planning to be there. Holt has 3 daughters. I've already taken enough from families. Not again. That night. Elara sat in her small apartment. 6 photographs spread on the table, faces young, vibrant, frozen in time. The last thing she saw before closing her eyes was Saren's face in her scope and the unshakable certainty that tomorrow, one of them would not walk away. She had prepared 6 rounds for tomorrow, each one etched with a name: Callahan, Vega, Rios, Monroe, Hart, Bishop. If she was going to face Victor Saren Iron Fang, she would carry her team with her. At 21:14, her phone buzzed. Unknown number. The clipped, precise style in the text was familiar. Master Chief Drake gave me your contact. Team's planning Overwatch for tomorrow. Could use a real sniper's input. Cade. She almost smiled. From mockery to respect in less than a day. But respect wouldn't stop Saren's bullet. She typed back, watch the water tower at grid 19447. 280 meters to Admiral Holt's viewing stand. Elevated position. Multiple exits. It's where I'd shoot from. When Cade asked where she'd be, Elara looked at the photos of her fallen team and answered silently, exactly where I need to be. The morning broke clear and cold, the kind of air where a rifle shot carried forever. The Falcon Bay Precision Invitational swarmed with competitors from around the world. Vendor stalls clinked with gear, and distant steel targets rang like muted bells. At 0900 sharp, Admiral Marin Holt arrived. Her security detail was good discreet. Alert, but they were scanning for conventional threats. Saren was anything but conventional. Elara had been in position long before sunrise, not at the water tower she'd pointed the team toward, but in the skeleton of an unfinished high-rise 1320 meters from Holt's stand. The exposed rebar gave her just enough elevation and concealment. At 14:09:45, she spotted him, faded maintenance coveralls, movements efficient, deliberate, the economy of a man who had ended lives from impossible distances. Through her scope, she saw the scar over his left brow and the faint bend in his trigger finger from an old injury. Victor Saren, prone on the grated platform of the water tower, his rifle already leveled toward Holt's stand. Her right hand trembled as she loaded the first round. Callahan. The tremor worsened as she set her stance, the same unconventional posture mocked yesterday. But in her mind, Callahan's voice was there. Trust your instincts over the manual. She found her breathing rhythm, slowed her pulse. Through the crosshairs, she watched Saren lay out his kit patient. Methodical. 14:10:0. Time became slices, Saren's finger tightening. Holt laughing at something her aide said. Heat shimmer above the crowd. 2 options. Take him out before he could fire, or gamble against physics and intercept his shot mid-flight. She chose neither. Her shot broke. The round slammed into his scope, shattering the glass and driving shards into his eye. The impact spun his rifle sideways just as he squeezed off his own round, sending it harmlessly into the dirt. On the ground, Trident Bravo surged toward the water tower, trusting her intel completely. Saren tried to run, but Cade's men were already climbing the ladder, pinned, bleeding from his ruined eye. Saren scanned the skyline until he found her nearly a mile away. His lips moved. She couldn't hear the words, but she could read them. Spectre 7. Next time. Through the scope. Elara met his one good eye, and silently promised there would be no next time. Her hand would probably always shake. But for one perfect moment when it mattered most, Elara Vance had found the stillness between heartbeats. Callahan would have been proud. She left the skeletal high-rise without looking back. Her phone buzzed a message from Drake. Outstanding work. Spectre 7. Team wants to buy you that coffee. You in. She stared at the screen for a long moment, then typed, Just Elara. And, yes. That evening, she sat at a weathered table in a small beachside cafe, the low hum of conversation under the sound of rolling surf around her. Trident Bravo watched with something closer to reverence than camaraderie, the kind earned in places not everyone comes back from. She hadn't felt anything like this in 5 years. Not peace that would never come, but the faintest flicker of acceptance. Her hand trembled as she lifted her coffee. Strickland reached over, steadying the cup. No pity, no ceremony, just one warrior helping another. 2 absent friends, Cade said quietly, raising his mug. 2 absent friends. They echoed, for the first time since Zadra. Elara spoke their names aloud. Callahan, Vega, Rios, Monroe, Hart, Bishop. The sun slid toward the horizon, turning the ocean molten gold. The colors reminded her of the desert at dawn, but here there was no grit in her teeth, no smell of burning cordite. She stepped out onto the cafe's deck, coffee cooling in her hands, one by one. The operators drifted away with quiet nods. They knew some moments belonged to silence. A breeze carried the salt of the sea. Elara closed her eyes and let herself feel it, the weight of survival, the burden of being the one left standing. When she opened them, the horizon shimmered, and they were there. 6 shadows in formation, Callahan's sharp smirk, Vega's granite stillness, Rios's restless stance, Monroe's quiet wisdom, Hart's low chuckle, Bishop's final gear check, backlit by the dying sun. They waited, and she swore Callahan gave her a small nod. Her hand shook harder, coffee spilling over the rim, but she didn't look away. These ghosts were hers to carry. The nightmares would still come. The tremor would never leave, but neither would she. Still shooting, still serving, still carrying them with every trigger pull. Somewhere out there, another shot was waiting, and when it came, she'd be ready.